And welcome to the Self Love Uncensored Podcast. We are your hosts. I am Vanessa McWilliams.
And I'm Amanda Wozni.
And we are self-proclaimed experts in all things self-love.
Here you'll find uncensored discussions about life, living unapologetically, and becoming our best selves. Welcome to today's episode.
So fun. We have to start hitting record as soon as we jump on Zoom together.
I know. I think if we had $1 for every time we said that, we'd be really rich already.
I know. We've been sitting here for 45 minutes already. We could have recorded a full random episode, which is, I think, super fun.
Great. Yeah.
It would have.
I know the feedback from the last random episode was fantastic. Apparently, everybody really appreciated my masturbation story endeavors. Yeah. You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome.
Okay. And if you haven't,
my grade 3 self says you're welcome. Yeah, if you haven't listened, you need to go back.
You need to
the
go
last
back
one right now and listen.
Yeah, and clarify what exactly is happening, because grade 3 masturbation stories sounds a little odd. But whatever.
Yeah, it's totally fine. It's totally fine.
Funny. So good. Well, I don't know about you, if wherever you are in the world, it is scorching freaking hot here, and I'm in Calgary, Alberta. And it's like 34 degrees here today. So I'm coming to you live from my bikini in my podcast, my office. Yeah. It's too hot. So if you see me bouncing around on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm not naked. I promise. I'm just adjusting.
Just partially.
100. Yeah. It's partially too hot. Oh,
I know. I hear you.
It's way too hot. So good.
Yeah, not used to it. Not used to it when winter ended like 3 weeks ago, it feels like.
Right? Haven't acclimated yet.
No.
Oh my gosh.
No.
So every year at this time, I think we need air conditioning, and then we can't justify it for like the 2 weeks that we get collectively over summer, where it's like the need to be able to sleep comfortably. Right. But these 2 weeks that we usually get scorching weather, it's like miserable. But
why did we not get air conditioning?
Right. Yeah. I got up an hour early this morning, just at 6 o'clock, just so that I could run around and open up all my main floor windows and all my doors to just cool my house down, because it was like insanely hot in here this morning. Yeah. So, you're a good mom when.
Yeah. The secret is you have to leave your windows open all night so that the air can move all night, and then you close them when you get up in the morning.
Well, we leave our upstairs, like all of our upstairs windows open at night, but our downstairs main level, we don't, because we just have problem with like break and enters and stuff. So we won't leave those ones open. But yeah, I woke up this morning and I ran downstairs and opened up all the windows and the front doors and had everything screened off, because I'm good up till like 25 degrees. And then my body is like, no. I'm very grateful to be bald right now. I'll just tell you that right now.
I grew up in the Okanagan where it hits like 40 and above in the summertime. So it's gross.
I'm not even wearing makeup because it would melt off my face.
Pretty much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
I'm sitting in the basement where it's cool in my house. So I'm good.
I'm up in my office. We're just waiting for the sun to like come over the edge of my house, and I have to pull the blinds down and go back into my cave.
No kidding.
So good. Well, today we are talking about something that's I'm excited for our conversation today, because just before we hit record, Amanda was talking about how she already knows, we're talking about love languages, and about how you already know typically like what your love language is and what your husband's love language is. And I know myself, I did like a quiz maybe 2 years ago to figure out what my love language was, and I forgot. So as we're having this conversation, I'm kind of excited, because I'm going to go through this and try and figure out what exactly my love languages are again, and see if I can pinpoint my husband, because there's some things that the two of us do that the other one doesn't appreciate, like ass smacking.
Yeah. I think that's the cool part about it, though, is that it like that's my favorite part ever since I learned the love languages. And it is very common in couples that you aren't the same. It's very rare for a husband and wife to have the same love language, and it can lead to a lot of problems, because you don't think of it in terms of like, if you have different love languages, your primary language is French and mine is English, we have problems communicating with each other because what you're saying makes no sense to me and what I'm saying makes no sense to you. And it goes the same for love languages.
Totally.
So once you, I think, can understand what they are and then what your primary love language is and what your spouse's primary love language is, it really helps open up your communication and break down those barriers, because things that you saw them doing that were just like they weren't speaking to you in the way that you want to be loved, but now you can look at it and go, oh, all those things that they're doing that I wasn't paying attention to is how they're showing me their affection. So
100%.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like
Yeah.
we were laughing about just before we hit record that my husband loves to smack my ass and I fucking hate it. Like every time he smacks my ass, I'm like, don't
if he didn't know, he knows now.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, don't touch me. You're sexualizing me. Like it just, I don't like it. Right. But now like thinking about it, one of his main love languages is definitely personal touch, or physical touch. So it's like
physical touch. Yeah.
It's interesting now.
And it's kind probably of like really low for you if that's how it makes you feel.
But even then, like before we hit record, I had made mention quickly that like I grew up with, dealing with like my hair loss and stuff. And I was wearing wigs and wearing hats. And so I had people that would, kids that would like grab my wig off my head and grab my hat off my head and stuff. And I think I built up a dislike for people touching me after that. Right. Like,
yeah,
I'm not I'll hold your hand. I love that. But like, give me my space.
Yeah.
Don't smack my ass and sexualize me. I'm not I don't know. Some women are like, fuck, I would love if my husband smacked my ass. Like, you can borrow mine.
Yeah.
I just
he'd be happy to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And it's different for all of us. Whereas you might be like, if he came home with a cupcake or flowers, you might feel really loved. Or if he said, rather than me smack your ass while you unload the dishwasher, how about I unload the dishwasher for you? And then you're like, oh my goodness, like I would love that.
Yeah.
Right?
Then you can smack my ass all night. You unload my dishwasher and we got things going.
Yeah.
100%.
And then as my husband says, he wants to load the dishwasher because he thinks he's really funny.
That's so funny. Oh my God. I'm going to have to say that to Greg. Like, do you want to load the dishwasher tonight? Oh my God. I have to write that down.
The physical one and then the metaphorical one. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Anyways.
So good.
Anyways. So yeah, we're going to cover the 5 love languages. So they have been, they were created by Dr. Gary Chapman. There's a book. I think there's probably multiple books now because when I was looking on the website, like they have ones for children, they have it for couples, they have it for singles, all that kind of stuff. In my opinion, it doesn't matter who you are. I feel like you should read the book and figure out what your love language is. And it just makes so many things make sense. We were talking about this before too, that I have come to realize since I read this book that my mom's love language is words of affirmation acts of service is definitely her. Number one, she likes doing things for people. Like she'll come over and tackle your laundry, or she'll come over for a visit in wintertime. And if your driveway's not plowed or whatever, she'll grab the shovel and she'll do it before she comes in the house kind of thing. So now I know when I go over to visit her, those are the things that I try to do for her. I try to help her with her dishes, or like I was telling Vanessa last weekend, I took the kids over to visit and I showed up and I let her hang out with the kids because obviously she loves spending time with her grandkids. And I went and grabbed the lawnmower, and it's something that I can do not only to help ease her burden because she lives by herself and she's getting older. So she loves yard work and everything. So she does it way too much. And she works in a greenhouse all day. So she's always tired, even though she probably won't admit it. So it's a perfect thing for me to do, to show up and say, hi, how's it going? And I love you, right? Because me saying I love you to her means probably not as much as me doing something that shows her that I love her. So those are the kind of things. And it's just really helped like all of my relationships being able to see that. And you'll be able to pick it up in everybody, in your kids, in your friends, in everybody, and be able to see places where people were loving you that you probably never even realized before. So
totally.
Let's go over what they are. So there's 5 love languages. There's words of affirmation. So those are speaking nice things about people, right? And affirming that they're a good person, that they're loved, that they're worthy, all those kind of things. Acts of service, which is fairly self-explanatory, doing things for people. Receiving gifts. So those kind of people literally like physical gifts of some kind that makes them feel like you're thinking of them. Quality time. So that's spending time with people. And then physical touch, which is obviously fairly self-explanatory too. And you may or may not have seen, I love these memes that go around.
This one's so good.
Yeah. That like give you a metaphor for what the love languages are that makes it so easy to understand. So this one is in relation to tacos. So the first words of affirmation would be you saying your tacos are delicious. Acts of service would be I made you tacos. Receiving gifts would be here's a taco. Quality time would be let's go out for tacos together. And physical touch is my favorite. Let me hold you like a taco. So it makes it really like it's funny, but it makes it really easy to understand in that respect, right?
Totally. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, and it's really good to know as well, like not only with the love languages, the way that you use the love languages, but all like for yourself, but how also you use them for other people, right? Like it goes both ways, like you had said with your mom. And like sitting here thinking about this, I can already pinpoint my two kids. Like my oldest is definitely words of affirmation. He loves hearing he's done a good job, that you're proud of him. He loves, playing hockey and hearing afterwards how well he did and how proud you are and all those things. And then my youngest one is all about receiving gifts. He wants all the stuff. Yeah. You want your way to his heart, go buy him a Slurpee. Like definitely. It's really fascinating to think about it because never thought about that before with the two of them. So it's kind of cool.
And then if you think about it in the way that they show up for you, then that would mean the child that's receiving gifts likely would be the kind that would like cut like a heart out of paper and be like, here, mommy, I made you this. Yeah. Right. And whereas your other son might be like, oh, mom, you look really great today.
And it's so fascinating that you say that because my youngest is the one who will check the calendar to see whose birthday's coming up, or like my husband's birthday is next week and it's Father's Day. And my youngest has already said, has daddy told you what he wants for his birthday? Yeah. And so right away I'm like, okay, yes. And then my oldest is the one, he's such an old soul. Like we talked about this again before we hit record and that whole other wild conversation we had, but my oldest will definitely say, mom, you look really nice today. Or, I love you. My biggest thing I think is I don't know what my love language is. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I love telling people like you're amazing. So I think words of affirmation for me is real, if that makes sense. Like me telling other people I love you, me telling other people like
generally what you do though is the same way that you because you want to receive that, right? Like it's not that you're ego driven, like you don't compliment people like with the thought of like, I expect you to give it back to me. Yeah. But you just do it subconsciously because that's what you crave at the same time.
And it's so interesting that we say that because we keep saying this is so interesting. It is really interesting that we say that because a couple of episodes back, we talked about, I don't remember what episode that was, that we talked about how I don't like having people make compliments about, but compliments about my physical body is where I'm super uncomfortable. So words of affirmation for me, and maybe that's why I do love saying like, you are beautiful and you're enough and you are worthy, because those are the things. Look at you, Amanda Wozni, getting just all
psychologing you over here.
Oh my God.
I'll be applying for my doctorate tomorrow. No, I'm kidding.
Right. I'm just here to change your life.
Yeah. No, it's good. Just that's all things that I've noticed, like since I read the book and did it for myself, is that you really, it's totally true. And it's like that for everything. Like the things that you put out there, the things that you do for people, the things that you say to people, the things that you give people, it's because whether you want to admit it or not, somewhere in your brain, those are the things that you crave back. Right.
100%.
Like if you give somebody a really thoughtful gift for no reason, like you would be elated probably if you got a really thoughtful gift for no reason back from somebody else. It wouldn't have to be the same person. Yeah. But that's the thing about the love languages is the way that we show up and do things and say things for other people is generally what we want back. And then the problem therein lies if that other person's love language isn't the same thing. So if you like saying you look beautiful to people or you are worthy to people, and that person's love language is physical touch, they're not going to feel as loved by those statements as if you just walked up and gave them a hug and were like, hey, how's it going? And like held them for a couple seconds longer. Right. Whereas to you, then that might not be as important. You want the words.
Absolutely. Well, it's really interesting because like the I am beautiful, I am enough, I am worthy. Those were my I am statements when I first started doing personal development work, because those were the things that I really needed to hear somebody say. So I decided to say them to myself. Right.
Yeah.
And it is really interesting because I'm thinking back to like when we were doing Transformation Weekend and stuff and having before COVID and having the live events, that there are so many different people that we come into contact with, especially just at that event, that I'm thinking through like some of the people who come to each event, you know, year after year, I can probably pinpoint what each and every one of them's main love language it is, because some people come up and they're like, oh my God, I just have to hug you. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I'm a hugger. I love hugs.
Yeah.
But then same with words of affirmation and stuff. Like it's interesting to see on social media and stuff too, like how people act on social media when certain things are said. And it's really interesting. I'm kind of opening. It's so funny we're talking about this because at first I was like, you take the reins on this one because I don't remember a whole lot about this. And now I'm like, oh my God, I'm starting to remember. Like it's really interesting.
Well, and what I like about it is that like it's another tool, especially for us as coaches, right? Like we learn things like people's attachment styles and stuff like that from when you're younger. The 4 agreements is something that we use to be able to coach people as well, which we talked about in a previous episode. But I feel like love languages is like, once you understand them and once you especially understand your own, like, man, you can read people like so fast and be able to connect with them in the most authentic way if you can understand their love language. And then as long as you're doing it genuinely, right?
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, you're totally right. Like Transformation Weekend is a perfect, I can think of people at the last one that I went to, which I wasn't even coaching at, I just went to attend. And there was 2 people I can think of off the top of my head that were like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you're here. I brought this for you. And it's like, okay, there's his gifts, right? So like, if I want to show up for them in a special way in the future, it's to get a little token of something or other and give it to them. That's what they're going to appreciate. 100%. So yeah. Absolutely. It's cool. It's really cool it really gives you a whole new view on all of your relationships all the way across the board when you can understand these.
I'm going to have to sit down when Greg comes home tonight and casually on the couch ask him some questions and make him do the quiz without him knowing. So I can figure out. I know he's physical touch, like he's definitely physical touch, but he's also acts of service.
And a lot of men are.
And
a lot of men definitely are.
And like I said, I'm not. I love hugs. I love like non-intimate touching, if that makes sense. But like, it crosses a line for me when he's like smacking my ass, because I feel like, I don't know why. I just don't like it. Like, don't touch me. Leave me alone. Don't sexualize me. You know, like it just,
as husband who created 2 children with me. Don't touch me.
Don't touch my bum. While I'm loading the dishwasher. Like it just, I don't know why.
Because he wants to load the dishwasher, Vanessa.
I'm so saying that to him. Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
I apologize in advance because now you're never going to hear the end of it once you teach him that. He's going to be like, let me load the dishwasher.
Right? He's going to appreciate it. Then I'm going to be like, fuck, now your words of affirmation. What are you?
Damn it, Mike.
So good. Oh my gosh. So good.
All right. Well, let's go a little bit deeper into these. So let's start with words of affirmation. So they are verbal compliments that express your love and appreciation for other people. How to express them would be bragging to others about your spouse or your children or whoever it is. These ones are definitely more related to relationship, but you can spin them off into any relationship, really. Writing love letters, anything like that. And then if you have a conflict with somebody that has that as a primary love language, in order to basically build back up your trust and relationship, speaking words and sincere apologies. So obviously they're all about the spoken word over the physical touch or doing things.
Absolutely. Next up is, that sounds so lame. Next up.
Part B, number two,
yeah,
2B.
I sound like a robot. Oh my goodness. I'm not with it today. It's like the heat. We're blaming it on the heat.
Yeah.
We've tried to do this episode like 3 different times this week, and we're not with whatever's happening. It's just we're being tested. We'll call it that way.
We're in a fog. That's all.
We are a little bit. We'll blame it on the heat.
Fine.
Acts of service. So what is it? Basically any act that eases the burden of responsibility. So that would be like you with your mom, like, mowing the lawn, loading the dishwasher, all those kind of things. How to express. So washing the dishes, pampering your spouse, offer to let me do that for you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate acts of service. I think that that's definitely one of my high ones. If someone offers to take something off my plate, I'm grateful for it. But at the same time, I still have that like controlling factor of like, I'll just do it because then I do it right the first time, so I have to I have to be careful with that one. Yeah. Let go.
And I like acts of service. And I think we should probably clarify, like, this isn't very often big, grandiose. Like,
no,
it doesn't need to be like that. You planned a trip and like you booked the helicopter over the Grand Canyon kind of thing. Like, no, this is literally like the trash bag's full. Maybe I should take that out so that my spouse doesn't have to, or
without having to be asked. Like, how amazing it feels when my husband takes the garbage bin out to the back alley without me asking him to do it.
Would you let him smack your ass?
Oh my God, I would, all the way back into the house. I'd be like, giddy up. Oh, hell yeah. After conflict, this one's really interesting. Make behavior changes requested through the conflict. Which basically just shows, like, a lot of times, especially in relationships, we can say things when there's conflict, or we can say that we're going to change, and words are just words, but it's actually like, you have to, for me especially, I have to see the change in the behavior before I can believe that the behavior is going to change. So telling me that you're going to do something to change, if we've had conflict, doesn't mean squat to me. Like, I want to see the actual change behavior. Right. So making that behavioral changes is definitely for active service after conflict.
And I think those conflicts often come as a result of the lack of action for those service things. So it can literally be like, you asked for the garbage to be taken out and it didn't get done, and it didn't get done, and it didn't get done. So you finally did it yourself. And then you're like, passive aggressive, angry about it. Right. So then you're going to end up leading to probably a fight over garbage, which is fucking ridiculous. But this is what we do when we're adults and we're married. We fight about dumb shit generally.
Stack things. Right? Yeah. We stack things and then we throw it all.
So when you have that conversation, it's going to be, and your spouse, I'm just generalizing it from a woman to a man, but it can be whatever, man to man, woman to woman, man to woman, whatever. That you're arguing about the garbage, will just be really clear that, like, I expect you to take out the garbage. I shouldn't have to tell you that it's fucking full for you to realize that it's fucking full. Like, you put shit in and you ram it down and you ram it down and you ram it down. It can only take so much. Just take the fucking thing out to the garbage can so that I don't have to. I shouldn't have to ask you. So if that's what somebody is saying to you, like, this is just a generalization, but if that's the kind of thing that you're arguing about, just do the damn thing. Right. Like, it's very simple. And it makes it easier. There's no fight. There's no emotional turmoil. There's no repressed feelings or anything like that. And like, you might get to smack an ass because you're just going to make your spouse really happy. Like,
giddy up.
Right. It bleeds over into everything though. So
it's so true. It's so true. And it usually is. That's just that you start stacking. Like I said before, in case anybody doesn't understand what stacking means, is taking all those little tiny things that your spouse or your partner has done that hasn't met your expectation, like taking out the garbage, and then you end up just going, oh, it's whatever, I'll just do it myself, and then taking out the garbage, and there's a little bit of resentment, and then it's like the same night asking to fold clothes and put your clothes away after they've come out of the dryer, and all of a sudden they're sitting all over the floor, and you walk in and you're like, oh, you didn't do that either, and then you just start stacking all these little things until finally something blows. And you're arguing over not taking the garbage out the one night, but then you start throwing out all this other shit from before and saying, but you didn't do this, and you didn't do this, and you didn't do this. Like, it's, for me, I have to be very cognitive. And like, if I ask Greg to take out the garbage once and he says yes, I leave it alone. And like, if the next day it hasn't been done, I just fucking do it myself. And
yeah, there's another good meme about that. What is it? If you want something done, ask your husband. And then like, if he doesn't get it done in the next 6 months, like just
do it
wait,
yourself.
like he's going to get to it.
Yeah. And that's just it. Like when it comes down to it, it would be, you know, the little acts of service, like garbage and stuff. I'm not going to cause a fight because of asking him to take out the garbage and he didn't do it. Like that's quite a small thing for me. It does annoy me if I ask because it, you know, is an act of service thing, which is one of my love languages, but it's bigger things that if I ask you to install a ceiling fan, Gregory, wink, wink, nod, nod. I've been asking him just to install a ceiling fan in our bedroom for like 3 years because of hot days like today. And that hasn't gotten done. And it's just not priority for him. And it's like, I said to him on the phone the other day, we had a conversation. I said, I'm just going to do it myself. Like, I'm not even going to get angry with you anymore that you're not doing it. Like, it's not priority to you, but it's priority to me. But then again, he's also on the road living in an air-conditioned hotel. So he doesn't see it. Right. But for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm done arguing about it. Let's just be finished with it. I'm just going to fucking do it myself. Right. So stopping that stacking.
Yeah. And you said it perfectly that it's not a priority for you, but it's a priority for me. And that like sums up what love languages are. So we all have a little bit of all 5. It's just they're ranked differently, right? Like it's very unlikely that you're going to completely not resonate with at least one part of it.
Yeah.
But it's where your priorities lie. And it's in recognizing that your priorities with your partner are very, very, very likely to be different from each other. And that how you love that person needs to be in that person's love language, not in your own, or you're speaking different languages and you're not picking up on it. So and it goes both ways, right? Like we do things as wives that piss our husbands off because they're expecting us to show up in a different love language. Like he's expecting you to receive his ass slaps very happily, right? Because it means that he loves how you look and how you are and who you are as a human. And he likes touching you, which is fantastic because it'd be pretty hard to make babies if you didn't want to do that. Right.
Right.
And it would be a pretty dry marriage, but you're just speaking up in 2 different ways. So he's speaking in ass slaps and you're speaking in bedroom fans, and you just need to
we need to combine the 2.
Yes.
Yeah. He can smack. He can smack my ass. I'll smack his as he's putting in my ceiling fan. 100%.
That's right.
He's going to call after this. And I'm going to be like, guess what we're doing this weekend when you're home? Selling ceiling fans and slapping asses.
Naked fan installation time.
Right? Oh, there you go. Oh, he's going to love you, Amanda. Holy man. So the next one's quality time. Focus. So what is it? Is focused and undivided attention spent together. So this is not so much sitting on the couch watching Netflix together. To me, anyways, it could be to other people. But definitely like instead of sitting and tuning out and watching Netflix or something together or watching a movie, it would be for me more like playing cards or something together, like actually undivided attention towards each other, or having a conversation, hard conversation if it has to be, how to express it. So turning off electronics. I didn't even read this. Go for a walk, plan a date night, and start a hobby together. Like, I think that's super cool. And then after conflict, quality time is making eye contact, active listening with empathy, and not interrupting. Which is, I think, can be very, very hard.
That's listening without trying to think about how to respond, but just listening for the sake of listening.
Without a rebuttal. And trying to come at it from a place of not trying to be right in the conversation. I think that's one thing that I've tried really hard in our marriage is trying not to be defensive and come off as right. If I'm, if I'm in the wrong, I admit I'm in the wrong. And that is a hard thing to do.
It is.
The next thing is. The next thing is giving gifts. So of course it's kind of self-explanatory. What is it? It's tangible symbols that reflect your thoughtfulness and effort. How to express it. So making birthdays and anniversaries special, surprising them with their favorite treats. This could be like baking a cake, spending the time to actually, the intentional time to actually find something or make something for somebody. And after conflict, give a small token of your love and an apology note, which I think is really cool. I like that.
Giving gifts is pretty simple. And you'll always know if somebody is a gift giver at their top of their love language, because they're the people that'll just come up out of nowhere and be like, oh my goodness, I was at this little shop and I saw this thing and I thought, and I just had to get it for you. And I'm so glad I saw you today. Here you go. Like you'll 100% know. Or they're the person that's always bringing donuts and coffee into the office for everybody, or right, like it's very easy to know who the giving gifts people are. 100%.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then physical touch, of course, is a non-sexual touch that reinforces your presence. Ass slaps. How to express long hugs, gentle caressing, kissing, massages, and hand holding. So I'm a big hand holder. I like to hold my husband's hand. Ass smacks, not so much, but that's okay. After conflict, hold each other without saying a word and cuddle together in bed. Also not a cuddler, especially when it's hot. Stay on your own side of the fucking bed. Pillow wall.
Physical touch is mine and my husband's number one. And my favorite thing that he always does is he always gives the best hugs, and they're always super long. I can't remember what there's a stat that's like, if a hug lasts longer than like 17 seconds, like it actually can start like physically repairing things in your body. Like it's really, really, really good for you.
I have a rule with hugs that I never let go first.
Oh yeah.
If you ever hug me, I never let go first.
That's funny.
Because I just, if someone's wanting to hug me, there's a reason.
Yeah.
And whatever that reason is, you just hug me as long as you need to.
Yeah.
Unless it's
physical
like weird.
Touch is probably really high for you too then.
I wonder. I'm going to have to do this after. I'm going to do the quiz again and see.
Yeah, we'll include it in the show notes, so you can go to the 5 Love Languages website, and there's a few different ones. There's one for kids and everything too. And yeah, it's really easy. I did it old school way in the back of the book back in the day. But yeah, you answer questions. It'll ask things like, so it's more meaningful to me when the first choice is someone I love reacts positively to something I've accomplished, or someone I love does something for me that I know they don't particularly enjoy, like taking out the trash. Or things like, I'm able to be in close physical proximity to someone I love, or I sense someone I love showing interest in things I care about. So it just kind of gives you two different options all the way through. And it only takes a couple of minutes, and it'll let you know like where your priorities lie, kind of thing.
Love
but
it.
Yeah, I really think for people that are married or have been together for a long time, especially if you're facing any sort of communication issues or communication breakdown or struggling in your marriage, this is probably one of the best places to start. Because honest to God, like since we both did it, like the communication just, not that we're perfect, we still have days where we fight over dumb shit. It's going to happen. But it really makes you recognize where you thought somebody was lacking and not showing up for you, and you just weren't seeing the actions that they were taking that were trying to show you that they love you.
It's gonna be some ass smacking in my house when Greg comes home tonight. Poor
Vanessa's
Greg.
ordering a fan as we speak.
Hell yeah. Naked fan party.
Yeah.
Oh, my poor husband. I do love him. But yeah, it's interesting to come at it from a place of like understanding that you're two totally different individuals and trying to figure out how best to do life together. Right. Like it is really interesting. And this does make a huge difference. And I think it's definitely something that you need to do together, or at least have your significant other do as well. Because I know myself, my husband hasn't been one who's been into all of this. And so I remember feeling like a little bit of a struggle back when I did this the first time, and telling him like, oh, this is what I remember having the conversation, and he wasn't as receptive as I thought that he would be. But there again, that's an expectation of him that I can't always have, if that makes sense. But to be able to say like, this is my love language, and this is how you can speak directly to my heart, versus slap my ass and piss me off, and then you get no physical touch, right? Like, I think it would be good. I'm going to get him to do it tonight. I'm not going to force him, but I'm going to respectfully ask him. If you'd like to go to the dishwasher and do the thing.
I'm pretty sure there's a couples one that you can like answer together at the same time. So you could sit down and spend some quality time together and do it together. Right. And be able to answer it together. And then you can kind of like ponder things as you're talking to each other. Like, oh, really? Like you'd rather me like get you a gift than blah, 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 or whatever. So yeah, it opens up really good dialogue, and I just can't speak enough good about it. Anybody that I
it.
know that has struggled in a relationship that I talk to, I'm like, have you read Five Love Languages? If you haven't, you need to read it and then come back and talk to me and try and tell me that it doesn't change your freaking life. Like,
totally. Well, and this would be really good in the sense of building your self-love too. If you know what your love language is, like to internalize this and do these things for yourself is huge. Like we said before, like the words of affirmation that I am enough, I am worthy, I am beautiful. Like I said that to myself the first couple of years that I started doing this work all the time. And I still include it in a lot of my social media posts and stuff. Even then, like taking myself out for lunch and stuff. We were talking before we hit record that I was debating going and getting a burger in my bikini because I just needed some AC. And it's like the gift, like giving gifts, even though it's not giving gifts, it's quality time with myself and going and getting lunch, right? Like, I'm going to do this and figure out what I am because I have all 5 and I know we all have 5, but I just like to see what my number 1 is. Number 1 and number 2.
It's interesting to see how it like complements or contradicts your spouse too, right? Because like everybody that we enter into a relationship with, we have things in common and we have things that we don't have in common. And typically in marriages, you'll be one or the other. Like you typically have a shit ton in common and hardly disagree on anything, or you have very little in common, and both dynamics can work. Totally. But it is very interesting that when it comes to love languages, it's very rare for them to be the same. And that can present a lot of problems.
Because you guys are the same. You said, you and Mike are the same physical touch. How do you keep your hands off each other? I'm just kidding.
Well, and your secrets. Like, it's so much more than that, right? Like it's, and like I appreciate the little things like the hugs, and like whenever we drive anywhere, we hold hands. And I grew up with my parents did the same thing. Like my parents were both very affectionate with each other. And I remember that, and that's conditioned me into being who I am, right? Like a lot of it is, I feel like how your childhood was and how you were modeled and raised. If you had parents that were not like PDA with each other, they didn't hold hands, they didn't hug, they didn't kiss in front of you, stuff like that, then you probably grown up and that kind of stuff probably makes you feel awkward. You feel like maybe it only belongs in the bedroom. You won't do it in front of people, things like that, right? So it really brings a new level of awareness to all of your relationships for sure.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So fascinating. Well, now I want to do the quiz. Oh, I'm excited. Oh my goodness.
I made it like halfway through it, just trying to click through to remember some of the questions and stuff because it's been so long. I don't have my book. I loaned it out to somebody.
So good. Yeah. So good. Well, I think I'm good. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I don't think so. If anybody wants to let us know if they had no idea about love languages and you decided to do it and check it out, let us know what you think and if it helps your relationships and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah. We'd love to hear what your love languages are.
Yeah.
100%.
Maybe we should make some social posts and do the tick thingies.
Yeah. Yeah. We should do that on our Instagrams. Totally. 100%. Yeah. What's your love language?
Yeah.
Watch for that. We'll do that next week or when we launch this episode.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
I know, right?
Oh, well,
it's so hard to talk about that stuff because we don't know what the delay is on when the episode's coming out, but we're really excited for some upcoming episodes. Yes. We're finally going to be bringing on some guests and we can't wait for you guys to hear who we have to talk to.
So cool. And if you want to be a guest, please email us or reach out to us via social media. Yeah. So good.
If you know somebody we should talk to, maybe that would be great.
Yeah. So excited.
All right, friends. Well, we are so grateful for you here, leaving us reviews, tagging us on social media. Please be sure to hit subscribe if you want to be reminded when new episodes drop every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube. Just a note that on Apple, you can actually leave us a review and a star rating every single time. And that really helps us get seen by more people. So we love it when you do that. If you would share it with people that you think would benefit from our message, we would be so grateful. And if you ever have questions or want to reach out to us, suggest guests, become a guest, answer our questions, tell us silly questions you want to hear answered, anything like that, you can follow our social media handles below and reach out there or email us directly anytime at selfloveuncensored@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Amanda. This is I'm so excited. I'm going as soon as we hang up, I'm going on and I'm going to do mine.
Yeah. So let me know.
Yeah, I will. Absolutely. Thank you so much, friends, for being with us today, and we will see you next time.
Bye.